Clearly, NRC has the vital mission to assure adequate safety of nuclear technology, yet it also works in service to the policies laid out by Congress, especially in the Atomic Energy Act. This past Friday, my colleagues and I introduced a bipartisan, bicameral letter to the NRC. And we urged the Commission to resolve issues associated with the development of new risk-informed regulations for advanced reactors. Congress wants a regulation that will be workable for the most efficient licensing of advanced technologies. And we said so much in legislative reforms in 2019 to set the Commission and industry up for success. Mr. Dorman, as you heard me say last month to the Commission, it's disappointing that after 2 years, all the staff was able to produce for Commission review was a rule that stakeholders said for almost 2 years was unworkable. We're trying to set the Commission up for success on these challenging issues, and we want to see results. We want more efficient licensing and responsive regulations. So how are you working to instill in the NRC staff under your management a results-oriented culture?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A number of things. First, I mentioned earlier a focus on risk insights. And so we historically have been risk informed in the sense of taking risk studies of reactor technologies and applying those at the decision point at the end of our process. Over the last several years, we've been focused on taking that risk insight to the front end of our process and being very focused on our work planning and making sure that we're applying the right level of resource to the significant issues that come before us, that we're focused on the right significance issues,
okay,
so that our process becomes more efficient.
Okay, thank you. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask about, when it comes to this efficient licensing and developing regulations, certainly communications is key. And I understand that agency staff states to applicants seeking clarifications on rules, guidance, expectations that NRC can't act as a consultant due to its independence and does not informally provide advice. So I wanted to ask if that really is the case, and how can you improve efficiency if you aren't communicating? You know, they need to have, stakeholders need to have that communication regarding the licensing and along the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, Madam Chair, and having been at the NRC 32 years, I experienced that a long time ago. I would say that we have been promoting and encouraging pre-application discussions with technology developers early in the process, and the two benefits that accrue to that. The benefit to the staff is understanding the technology that's being developed and making sure that we have the right skills in place when the application comes in. The benefit that accrues to the developer is to hear the types of questions that the staff are asking and anticipate those and prepare a more complete application, which would also help in the efficiency of the review. So I think we're better in that regard, but I'm always open to feedback on that.
Well, do you have plans for measuring and verifying progress on more efficient licensing decisions, like metrics that stakeholders can track?
Yes, we have, as I mentioned, when we receive an application and determine that the application is sufficiently complete for the staff to begin its review, we establish a review schedule and we establish a level of effort for the staff for that, and we track those to ensure that we are meeting that we're identifying issues early in the process, elevating them as necessary for resolution so that we achieve the efficiencies that we're looking for.
Mr. Goff, let me turn to you. You have long experience in nuclear at DOE, national labs. Are there lessons from how DOE regulates and collaborates with innovators that could be shared with NRC to improve the regulatory interactions?
And yes, we do have the ability to authorize nuclear facilities and nuclear reactors as well. So we have a process that's been set up. It benefits from the fact that we almost always license first of a kind. So we have to have a fairly flexible process in doing that. And part of that flexible process is there is a lot of communication between the independent authorizer and the entity that's trying to deploy a nuclear facility. So some of the things that we've done is we don't do a lot of written requests for information back and forth. Most of if you have an issue, they typically call or have a discussion fairly quickly on it. So they minimize a lot the request for information until the very end of the process, and it's only major issues that come up there. We also, and I'll say in this case, this is Idaho, and we operate Idaho National Lab. The Office of Nuclear Energy is the landlord for Idaho National Lab. In our contract for Battelle Energy Alliance that operates that laboratory, we do actually put in metrics for the review process. So if the laboratory submits something for a safety document for review, the contract that we have between DOE Idaho and the laboratory says DOE Idaho has to turn that around in 90 days. Similarly, we've also, for the reviewers themselves, we actually have set up metrics. So the metrics for the reviewer, as far as their performance review, requires a slightly shorter turnaround, like they're required to turn it around in 70 days or so. So those are some of the things that we've done to make sure that, again, we have an efficient process for authorizing nuclear facilities, and we haven't authorized a reactor again in a while, but hopefully authorize reactors here in the near future as well.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I really appreciate the bipartisan focus on this issue. I yield back.